Hey, welcome to Scry-fi. We're talking about Ahsoka episode 4, season 1, called Fallen Jedi, or The Fallen Jedi. Remember?
I think it's just Fallen Jedi, right?
Fallen Jedi.
All of these titles are so cool because they can refer to many multiple things.
Yeah. We'll get to, I guess, that part, but there's several things that this one can mean. But
this one was Master and Apprentice, right? Like that was. There were a couple. It wasn't just.
This is one of the best episodes, I thought.
Yeah, a lot of things came together. Just a warning, of course, just like usual. This is going to be major spoilers for episode 4. So if you haven't seen it, go see that. Come back because we're going to go over all the little aspects.
Yeah, we're assuming you've seen it. So I guess it's not too fair though to rank them in that way. In that when you're doing a one story for several episode arc, it makes sense there's going to be a climactic moment, that it's going to, and they all can't be like that. So it's not really a fair comparison, but
I mean, we've loved each episode so far, and for me, they're just getting better and better and better.
Yeah, you have to say, how good of an act 2 is this? How good of an act 3 is this?
Right. Sure.
Rather than compare them all to the climactic moments of the arc.
Yeah. But so after I watched this one, I was just like, man, first of all, coming into it, we complained last time, or I mostly complained last time, that the last episode was only 30 minutes. This one was 40 minutes. And I was just like,
a little longer. I was like, okay, they better do a long one next time.
Yeah.
3 hours.
The way that it ends, I'm just like, couldn't it have been 45? Come on, just a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute, though. So the way that it starts, though,
it was a perfect ending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he's working on the same sensor station that blew up.
Yeah.
Which is also why they can't, by the way, detect when no goodniks are sneaking up on their ship.
Yep.
Right.
Which though, Ahsoka should feel that.
Well, I noticed that they only showed the droid spying ahead, and then they left. And I wonder if that could be, you wouldn't sense life forms.
Yeah, maybe.
She's reaching out with the Force right here. You can tell.
Yeah.
Doing your own scans and whatnot. She does get distracted.
Yeah.
So, this was crucial too, right? Can I trust you?
She should have listened to her suspicions, apparently, but
yeah. And
I was really shocked that. Well, we'll get to that point. I guess we'll keep it sequential. But
yeah, I mean, this little beginning makes you already go like, so it's not going to work out like you're hoping it is, because I thought it'd be like okay, she's not going to be able to do it or whatever, but I thought it'd be like a quick moment or a quick oh no, I delayed too long and then he knocked it out of my hand kind of thing. I didn't know it'd be that extreme.
Yeah. This set up a really interesting feeling though too, right? Because then you have that moment that's like, can you do me a favor? Can you just stay together? Because you always did better that way, right?
Yeah.
So the foreshadowing and whatever, and that kind of comes back around later on. But those two really cool bits of information, right? Like, can I trust you? Like straight up, just look, can I trust you?
It's almost like they're telling the audience what's going to happen, and when it happens, you're still shocked.
Yeah,
you're still like, no.
Here's the droid that was scouting.
Yeah. I like the setup though, right? Because they're making you. Even if you're going into this not knowing what's going on, they're making you think, right? Like, all right, well, somebody just said, can you stick together? Great. So they're gonna stick together, but they're not, because they're gonna break up, because that's how storylines will go. And you're like, well, that's the plot. Now they're gonna break up and something's gonna happen. And it's like it sets up so much like feels for the rest of the episode. It was so cool.
So I really like this moment. He had some excellent lines in this whole episode. So she's like, is that fear I hear in your voice? And he says experience.
Yeah.
It has cool lines and comebacks throughout this whole thing. I'm really liking this character.
Yeah, I love it. It's sad.
It's really sad about the actor. I mean, I really love the job he's doing. I love the character. I guess we'll find out if he would have been in the next season anyway. Well, maybe we won't, because they could have had time to edit it last minute.
Sure.
I do like Shin's character. I like what they're doing. That the especially it pays off a little bit later on too. But going back to the master and apprentice thing, what they're doing with her character, right, is really very Obi and Anakin-esque, right? You have the wise old one that's kind of just centered and down to earth and doing his thing, and he's on one side clearly, but then you have the other one that's just like going out there. It's like a really cool comparison between them.
I like that she's like, I can't find my little charger for my gun. She's panicking. You can see it actually right here, right next to her. And then here you go, found it. This is the face I have whenever someone's like, "Your glasses on your head, dude." Like you're like, there it is.
Of course, that kind of a thing would almost never happen to a Jedi because they're so mindful and everything.
Right.
I remember the scene in the Clone Wars where Yoda was having those weird issues of visions or something before he took off and went to the Force planet and stuff. And somebody said something in the council meeting, and Yoda went, "What was that? I didn't hear that, or I wasn't. I didn't, And everybody in the council like looked at each other like, "Is Yoda okay? Can we trust what is going on with him now? What is this?" They've never seen anybody ever do that before.
No,
for him not to be in the moment and focused. Very crazy. Man, Hu Yang got some moves.
Yeah, this was great. When his other arms came out and started hitting him from this was great.
I thought it was a good that's how I would have imagined. It's like he's got these moves and stuff, but he's not an assassin droid per se, so he puts up a fight, but he doesn't necessarily
I don't think he has the strength behind it, but he's got the moves, right? So
so he's been training Jedi for what, 2,000 years?
Right.
So like he knows he's well versed in the art, so he knows how to defend, he knows how to attack, he knows how to deflect, and it really showed. Like it was really good. It was really super well done.
Now this is interesting. We've seen this before, where you put your hand over the mouth of a droid and they stop talking.
Yeah, I assumed when Han Solo did that to C-3PO, he stopped just because I'm being told not to talk by this gesture.
I wonder if there's a programming that like...
Or maybe it's just the fact that the speaker is there, so you put your hands over a speaker, and it's just like if your phone's making a noise, you might put your hand over the little speaker.
But it's a metal hand, he's not getting like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You still heard him. He was still yelling, "Help me."
Yeah.
It was muffled.
I thought that was funny, though. And then she comes out headshot immediately, right underneath the armor. That was cool. It was really cool to see these two fighting together with their different styles.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me that, and we also get to see her use the little grappler and stuff, and some of her Mandalorian tricks.
You see the Mandalorian armor working there, too.
Yeah,
ding, ding, just like it does with Mando.
It reminded me too that I kind of think maybe she's making a bad move trying to mix these techniques. That she ought to just be a Mandalorian and just not muddy her techniques with two different opposing things.
This was a cool moment where she picks the guy up and throws him in front of, because he's like kind of locked Sabine down with his blast. She's blocking, like she can't get out from under it. And that's where the grappler comes in.
This was a very strategic-based episode, right? It was high on form. You saw during some of the, I'm sure we'll see them in a minute, some of the fight scenes, they were very strategic and defensive and moving, like very Obi and Darth Maul-esque in that scene. Like it was very focused on your stance and how are you going to parry, how are you going to defend, how are you going to, it was really...
That was a cool move with the grappler. Grabs him by, pulls him, and then she chops him down.
Yeah,
like kind of cool teamwork. Yeah, and that's where he's like, "You two should stick together," which we just saw they should have.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a fun moment where she's like, "Okay, I can't bring my fleet, but I'm going."
Yeah,
kind of stuff. I knew that would happen. It has to happen, right? Otherwise, it's not Hera.
I loved her. I wish think of something, and he's like, "Yeah, like I'll think of something." Yep.
I like his just baffled by what you're breaking the rules. Like, why?
He's obviously an NPC. He's not going to think of
This face.
He's got the one blue dot.
He's like, yeah, but you were ordered, and she's like,
I love that face. That's a Hera face.
Yeah,
that's Hera right there.
What's that?
Yeah.
Sure. You'll think of something. This was a cool shot.
Now, okay, so two things about this whole scene. I'm surprised she would take her kid with her, but it makes me think that he's already been demonstrating some Force stuff then for her to think.
Maybe. I mean, he says something later we'll cover, but
right.
And I think that. But the thing is with Star Wars, people have to remember, remember Episode 1, the captain that flew the Jedi to the negotiations was like a 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Children in Star Wars grow up quick.
I think it's because it's because Star Wars is like fairy tale stuff, right? And in medieval fairy tales, 13 was an adult.
I mean, I think it's more than that. There isn't a concept of, there's like a childhood where people play and stuff. This is almost like in medieval times, your kid is learning your trade. Your kid goes with you to the blacksmith shop. And
a lot more apprenticeships in every field.
Yeah.
If this was a knight and it was their kid who's being their squire, it would look normal.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And it's just a different culture of how kids are used. I mean,
it's a world without handrails, so
yeah. I mean, in the Clone Wars, Boba Fett at this age was leading a group of bounty hunters. you know, so
it's true.
Yeah, it's different at this point, so we can't necessarily apply.
Yeah, there's also a whole slant to it in the Goonies tradition because Star Wars is supposed to also appeal to kids, and kids need to feel like they could be part of these adventures.
I mean, the next series that we get is Skeleton Crew, right? Where
that's going to be full steam.
Yeah, that's all kids in the Star Wars universe and stuff. So we're going to see some fun stuff.
The other thing about this scene, the other thing I wish had happened here is this would have been a great moment to bring in Zeb. You know, but now I'm thinking we're not going to see him.
I got two things to say about this entire episode. One, when the X-wings are going out, right? Why is Zeb not there? And two, I wanted more Chopper. There wasn't enough Chopper. There wasn't enough attitude. There wasn't enough of him in this one, which we got great moments last time, but this one,
I did love that. What's his face?
He's right there.
I know he's there, and he's in the other scene too. But like his voice, his mannerisms were almost muffled in this episode.
Yeah,
like, it was there, but it wasn't as prominent as the other ones. Where like you knew.
I think they were going for drama, and they didn't want to have the Chopper feel or style in that one.
Sure.
Yeah, there's different times where it's good to have that comedy and that fun factor versus
Sure.
Who was the wing leader guy? I really liked it. Huh?
Carson?
Yeah, that's him. I was glad to see him there. That was cool.
Yeah, when I saw him, I thought, are we about to see Zeb? But then I remembered Zeb is a Y-wing pilot, not an X-wing pilot. And you know that because on Mandalorian, you see the Y-wings landing and then Zeb.
But you could have had him on the Ghost helping out with the guns or something.
Sure. But that's such a... Bringing Zeb in doesn't fit in this episode. Like, this whole episode seems very well crafted.
Yeah,
well, instead of that scene talking to the random one pip dude, it could have been that very same hangar, Zeb getting off his ship and saying, I heard you got some problems, I'm here to help out. And he goes, yeah, let's get out of here. And then he's in the cockpit with them. Yeah. Would have been awesome.
I just feel like that moment would be either buried by everything that happens here, or that it would overshadow what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah, and it kind of depends on where they're going to go next in the next episodes when they're all out.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
Daniel talked about it earlier. Like they were going for more drama and more prose in this one than they were with, like I said, with Chopper. Like Zeb would have been Chopper and him going at each other, and
this whole episode is filmed very darkly. Like you're seeing all these pictures coming up. All the pictures are dark.
Yeah.
Go back to that scene of the ships, though. Somebody mentioned this, and I was just enjoying this too. Somebody was talking. It was that Star Wars Explained channel that I mentioned a lot. He was talking about the way that they have recreated the look of those look like the models from Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? It really feels like that's the same ship that you saw in Return of the Jedi, and those are the same, right there.
Yep.
Just awesome.
Yeah, this seeing the ghost again is so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, seeing it live action too, and finally in center frame.
One of it, it's so friggin' expensive, but it looks so cool. Like the breakaway, like the old school Millennium Falcon with the breakaway pieces. Like seeing the ghost back on, like in live action, Ghost it's really neat.
Yeah.
And then I like that she lets him do the hyperdrive. It's like letting your kid hit the button on the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
See, she's teaching him. She's teaching the trade of being a pilot.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. All right, so we go back to this dark world here, this whole moment now. He says witchcraft right here, which I thought was kind of interesting. Looking up at it and stuff, witchcraft.
Yeah. It's kind of this interesting mix of magic and technology sometimes. Like there's obviously computers involved, but there's also some Dathomir witch stuff going on with the green light under the orb.
Yeah.
So
I almost wonder if it's a sort of force abilities that it can only happen in these rare places of power, and like it all gets amplified and used. Like we know that the witches of Dathomir have used abilities in other ways and stuff, but they always seem to be like at their temples and stuff like that whenever they really jump into the big epic stuff that they can do. So I wonder if they require items like the map and these little temple areas and stuff like that to really do it.
I think that all over the galaxy, the Force manifests in different ways and different cultures and different practices, so that almost anything you could imagine you wanted to do in an adventure story, you could make the powers of those beings work that way.
Sure. So this was a fun way to do countdown for the episode.
Yeah, where you see the little things lighting up. Also, I love those little dots and dashes. That's the number system, the alternate number system in Arabesh. So when you see those, like I could actually read those numbers. They're
cool.
There's a certain system to it with the dots and dashes.
Well, that really takes you to the opening or the end credit scene, right, with all the lines going to all the different planets, and the last one that we see are all of those converging on that one planet. And these are all those different things that are all getting the lines so they can get to where they need to go. Yeah.
Cool.
So this is when she's you can tell she's been sitting on that log like waiting for them to come.
Yep.
This is pretty cool. They've been running what she said they were 12 kilometers. So they've been running all that way. They seem fine. Good Jedi training.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is great.
What took you so long?
I remember we in our full 42 we did like favorite Star Wars moments, and one of my favorite Star Wars moments is when Obi in episode 3 Obi comes off the ship and he knows he's gonna fight Anakin, and he just drops his robe like, let's just get it on. And they're doing a lot of that right in this. There's a lot of that cape thing where they're just dropping, like, it was so epic when Obi did it. And now I've seen it, I think 3 times in this series in 4 episodes where they do this cape drop thing to get ready.
I love when the dark being Inquisitor thing in that episode before last, when they're at the shipyard and he goes and you hear the click and then the wind kind of takes it back.
I love it. I love that. It's just a badass thing to do. You're just like, yeah, let's go.
Now, when they're fighting here, you notice that Hati is like, she'll deflect and then she's running the opposite direction, like she's trying to run away, but she's just trying to separate them to get them as far away from each other as they can.
Yeah.
And then once she gets her to a comfortable distance, then she turns and they fight.
Yeah.
It's such an obvious ploy. She shouldn't have fallen for that. She should have stayed closer.
Well,
yeah, you got the range. Just keep shooting. Yeah. So it gets hit so hard the helmet comes off. It's not good.
Yeah.
But
like,
man,
this is one of those moments where the name of the title of the episode comes in, right? Because now you're thinking Fallen Jedi, and you're like, oh man, like they teased in episode 1, it ended where you're like, oh, like that happened, and now the episode's called Fallen Jedi, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, like it's gonna happen again.
And then these two are already Fallen Jedi, her and her master.
Yep.
There's something about, so later on we'll see Balin's like lightsaber fighting style and stuff. Every now and then Shin Hati utilizes some of those moves. I noticed when I went back and watched, and whenever she does, it creates these powerful attacks that like chop trees in half.
Yeah.
But they're kind of easy to dodge sometimes. So
it's like as if you're using a broadsword, you know?
Yeah.
Like some knight swinging a big. Of course, she doesn't have the mass of her master.
Right.
But
so it cuts back here, and we're reminded that we got the countdown going.
Yeah, all the different lanes are getting locked.
So here's the part where, okay, they start doing the face-off, the samurai kind of thing. And I like getting the little shots where they're like angry at each other and stuff. And then he starts the spinny thing. When has this ever worked?
Never. Well, when they wanted to fly away. It worked when they wanted to fly away.
Sure. That would have been interesting
One of my big
to see,
problems
actually.
with it. I hate that. I was so dumb.
But okay, so we start the spinny thing.
And totally different fighting styles, right? You got the anger and the aggression and the constant just smash and trying to hit and break and do what you can. And they're just sizing each other up and trying to figure out how to
the slow.
And she has to like in between the spins go with her lightsaber. Now this is now what do you think about this? Because I mean what that thing was, right?
So yeah, it starts like you see its arm, by the way. You can't tell with most of this, but its arm even shrivels up as it goes. See how it shrivels up right there?
It's like this is okay, it reminds me of several things. First of all, in the Tales of the Jedi, when she meets that Inquisitor in that one that had the bone face thing, it also vaporized once it was killed. This could be a similar thing. And this also reminds me of when Mother Townsend resurrected those other Night Sisters.
The undead. Yeah.
The undead. So this is some undead thing, probably.
Yep.
And that's probably a greenish mist because it's the Night Sister magic.
Yeah, I posted in our Discord that I was kind of disappointed because I wanted it. I felt like it was initially. I felt like it was more of a cop out. Like, oh, it wasn't anybody. Haha, you guys all theorized for no reason.
Never actually thought it was gonna be anybody significant. I thought it could be, but I never expected it really.
But even if it was an Inquisitor that like something happened where there was still an Inquisitor, like just make it an actual being. But somebody in the Discord posted like it is very Mother Townsend. It is very sister-esque, right, with the witchcraft. That
it still could have been an Inquisitor that got killed and she resurrected, and now it's under her command.
Yeah,
or whatever.
And maybe we'll find out. Maybe there'll be more of a payoff. It felt cheap initially, and then thinking about the lore and thinking about where they are and thinking about what's going on, it fits better. So,
well, could this have been a being, but maybe whenever they get killed, they turn into this instead of fade away like Jedi?
That would mean that the dark side has developed a life after death thing, and I kind of doubt it.
Well, they have in a way because they can become undead. So maybe the witches of Dathomar, when they die, they have this practice of turning into this stuff.
I think this is a reanimated corpse, though. I don't think it's like the soul of the being is not in there. It's a soulless. It's just using the neurons for memory stuff. But
how does it speak?
Yeah, it speaks.
No, it's alive. It speaks. It does things, but it's like a soulless living thing. It's not like if like I imagine it where it's like, let's say that their bodies vanish when they die if they know how to do the technique to live on if they're a Jedi. But I was going to say, if something like that happened, you could still animate that corpse and get it to be alive without its spirit, you know.
Sure, but what if this is more like, instead of their spirit going on to be part of the Force, that his spirit is going on to be part of the Dathomir Witch green magic Force version? You know what I mean?
Oh, like the life force of that being
Yeah,
is
maybe their
being
coven
absorbed.
uses that more. It makes them more powerful.
Yeah.
They can be raised from the undead, all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Just
It was
theories. We're just throwing theories, right?
Or
Yeah.
an explosion, like a puff, an explosion where like Obi collapsed, right? Yoda disappeared.
Yeah. Well,
The one
yeah.
in Tales of the Jedi just kind of deflated.
This
Like,
felt almost like a vampire being
yeah,
killed or something, you know.
Yeah,
That's why I think it's probably some kind of undead thing.
yeah.
But
Could
you
be.
know, it also has the armor, the techniques, and the lightsaber of an Inquisitor. That's what also makes me think, well, maybe it was an Inquisitor at some point.
Yeah, a resurrected Inquisitor could be.
Yeah.
Now,
And-
I will complain a little bit based off of what Mike was saying, that I think they purposely didn't show the actor for Marek so that we would sit there and go, "Oh, who is it?" Because in our first episode talking about him, I was like, they don't have him in IMDb. They must be hiding who he is. And that's what's driving the, oh, who could it be kind of thing. If you just put who it was day one, they'd be like, oh, it's just some guy or whatever. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But really,
I think it was perfectly fine for it just to be some Inquisitor we never heard of before.
Sure.
But
I think story-wise it was. I think I don't like being tricked into trying to, oh, they must be doing this because of that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I always felt that was extraneous to me. I mean, it was like I never felt like we had to be doing those speculations. But if you think about it, though, any speculation you had about an Inquisitor, you could still have, because that could be them resurrected, or them, what happens to their body if they're under the spell, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know a lot of like what Elsbeth can do. So,
and here's another thing. This is her look whenever she hears him die.
She didn't know that was going to be possible.
Well, she looks upset. Like, not like, oh, the battle's turned for me or anything. Like, I think she feels like she lost a friend here.
Yeah.
And you don't have an undead.
To me, it looks like she's scared. It's like, I didn't think that was possible, or I didn't think anybody could beat that being is so powerful or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is where Sabine. What was that?
I looked at it more of your take, like she lost somebody rather than, oh shit, I'm fucked. Like,
yeah,
she
looks
lost somebody,
and I think she gets mad about it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, sure, she definitely does that.
And this is where Sabine says, "I got this," and I'm like, "You don't got this. What are you doing?"
Yeah, and this is
it's like a bluff.
Stay together. What are you doing? You're not ready for this.
The thing is, so Ahsoka looks at her just for a second and then leaves. I think Ahsoka is not thinking like, yeah, she's got this, I gotta go. I think she's thinking, I'm gonna have
it doesn't matter
a being, because like she was saying earlier in the episode, you have to do the most important thing. You gotta sacrifice. I think she's sacrificing Sabine a bit here.
Yeah, like, whether or not she believes Sabine has this was secondary. The point is, she has an opportunity to go after the map, so she figures she needs to go after the map.
She doesn't feel like, she's got it and moving on. Yeah, I think she knows. Maybe it's 50-50. Who knows?
She was hoping for the best, because she obviously was disappointed when she thought that Sabine had been killed.
There also hasn't been much. I mean, there's been a little bit of a time jump in between the episodes, but there hasn't been that much where her training is so much better from when the time that she got stabbed to the time now.
Right.
She's not that much more powerful. So like you got your armor, so you got a little bit more of a bump upgrade. Like I get it. But like this was not looking good. Like you're not ready for this. And she's aggravated and angry that she just lost Marek. So like she's just gonna start chopping down more trees. And now you're gonna lose Ahsoka.
Yeah, in this moment, she says you will regret that decision. Yeah, you can feel like the anger and hate coming. It's pretty strong. Still ticking away. I like this feeling of this, like being reminded, like you have a deadline, you got to hurry.
Yeah, locking in those coordinates.
And in a moment we've been wanting ever since we saw this guy right off the bat is her walking up. He's just sitting casually doing the whole, what was it? Like, what was his name? Antonio, Inigo Montoya, where he's like, let's just sitting on the rock waiting for.
Well, he's only got one job right now, right? Like his job is to protect the key or the map.
Yeah.
Don't let anything happen to it. All right, so I'm just going to wait here. I'm going to do my thing. I'm very centered. I'm very balanced. I'm right here. I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah, I like his armor.
Yeah.
He finally takes off the robe so you could see like the armor and everything.
Yeah, it's like the classical Black Knight,
Yeah, if you go back a couple to Shin, where she's saying you will regret that, where she's all sorts of angry. She's very, very medieval knight-esque, right? Yeah. Same thing with Merrick. Merrick was very medieval knight. Like there's this ancient feeling to these guys.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Man, it was his little Anakin spoke well of you and all that.
That was all interesting dialogue. Yeah. And his impression that all your master did was leave destruction
But look at his face in that scene that you grabbed. Like he doesn't look happy about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's like, he's not looking forward to this, right? He doesn't want to do it. And he said it in episode 2, like, oh, it's a shame that we'll have to do this. And he looks distraught about having to go through what's about to happen because he knows what's going to happen, right? He can feel it, just like Ahsoka can feel it. And here you have another cape drop. So you get 2 cape drops in the same episode. Oh, so good.
This is where he goes, how inevitable.
Yeah.
When he pulls his lightsaber, because she's already pulled hers.
Yeah.
Now his fighting style, man, it is like it feels relentless. Like he's just perfectly unmovable and starts marching forward.
Yeah, when he blocks and everything, and then when he swings and just so much force, it feels like he's wielding this huge sword. This heavy.
Yeah, he's knocking her around with these hits. Like she's blocking, but it picks up the rock.
I have a question about this and the fight scene with Merrick. So it obviously went in her favor with Merrick. Yeah. It did not necessarily go in her favor with Baylan. Why is she only using one saber?
I think she's better with one saber. If you're doing a saber fight versus... She uses the 2 sabers whenever she's got multiple enemies or blocking lightsabers. It's different styles too.
But she used 2 against Vader. She used 2 against Maul.
You need the power to deflect his blows. So you can't be deflecting blows with one hand, another hand, and a bunch of little light. I think it depends on the person you're up against. When they come in heavy like that, you got to be able to. She's using all of her strength to push back on that. So it really does depend on the context. And if we go by the Fallen Order game, I think the double lightsaber thing is more effective against multiple enemies there too. Not that a game is necessarily, but it at least shows kind of how those guys were thinking of it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all strategy. It's you were trained like when you're facing this, you should try these modes. This is a better... We know that there are different types of lightsaber styles and stuff. So I'm sure they're taught like when you're fighting against this kind of foe, this is the better option,
It's definitely not the case that double-bladed is always better than single and 2 lightsabers is always better than 1.
Right, but in her 2, what I think her 2 most epic battles in her character arc are with Vader, who is like the most powerful, and Maul, had the double blade and was also very skilled, and she's got the 2. Like she's blocking Vader's one-handed blow with the 2 sabers.
Sure.
So if she's taking him on with 1, thinking that it's stronger because he's stronger, that doesn't really add up with Vader being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just seemed weird. Even with Merrick, I take it with Merrick. It's more strategic. You don't know the fighting style. You're sizing them up. You're figuring it out, and sure, you got your 2 hands on the one, so you can I don't know, defend better.
Of course, she lost against Vader, so maybe this is experience or something.
Yeah, maybe. That's true. It seemed weird for both of those battles for her not to have the 2. She used the 2 against the droids in the beginning of the episode, but for these 2 massive moments in the episode, for her to have 1, it was an interesting take on her fighting style, right? Like, yeah, she's doing the whole switching around, doing what am I going to do? How am I going to approach? And then, I don't know. It was cool. It was just different.
He actually grabs her and just throws her. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's some really cool moments throughout this whole fight. When they cut back to this and they showed this, I'm like, uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like you're about to see the end of Sabine kind of feel, like, oh, that's not a good shot. But yeah, when she like tries to push, and it's a weird thing. Like, it's a desperate move. Yeah.
It was a fake out. It was a great fake out.
Like, oh, you have no power. But the best part is he does.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah. Oh, God.
This is, she knocks him down, which was pretty cool. This scene is like, that's where he tells her, like, you and your master are just nothing but death and destruction, which is a really weird thing coming from someone who you feel is the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be very interesting to learn what his deal is. What is he trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very obvious that he knows Anakin turned to the dark side, killed all the Jedi, helped the Emperor, so he hates Anakin. And I think some of that's kind of pulling over to her, obviously. And it's fascinating because he's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the case he says, like, you abandoned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows what buttons to push.
And earlier she was saying that about herself too. I abandoned both of them. And so maybe he's reading her mind and trying to like mess with her.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even really need to read her mind. I think he's just that clever that he knows what to say to people to manipulate them a little bit. And
he obviously knows a lot. He's figured out who Anakin was and all that. So.
Yeah, I don't know if that came about. Like, we know that during the Empire, Vader was Vader. Nobody knew that Skywalker was him and all that stuff. Maybe a few people, like Tarkin knew, of course, and all that. But I think maybe afterwards, whenever, Luke Skywalker saved the galaxy by destroying this and killed Darth Vader and all this, maybe he puts it together. Maybe it becomes common knowledge. Who knows?
He may have figured it out during the time of the Empire. Either.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The theory, I mean, I guess it's canon, but Thrawn knows, or I guess apparently Thrawn put together that Anakin and Vader were the same. Because he worked with Anakin and then he worked with Vader, so he had a close tie to him as a fighting style.
Well, Tarkin did.
No, Thrawn did.
When did he work with Thrawn? I mean,
not in the movies, not in the animated series.
Not in canon, right? Yeah.
Well, the comics are canon, yeah.
No, not really.
Oh,
I mean, they.
Well, comics after Disney they're supposed to be.
They're supposed to be, but that's the problem. The same thing with books that they're supposed to be, but there's a thing that basically things coming out now are canon, but film and series can trump stuff still.
Okay.
And it happens.
I think they try to stick with it, but sometimes they've been a little
the Ahsoka book was supposed to be canon, and then they've done stuff that has broken that a little bit. So
I'm curious how he knows about Anakin turning to Vader. Like, where was he? Wasn't at the temple.
It may not have been hard for some people to figure out if they were part of the order.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I love that part of his character, though, right?
Yeah. So when she picked this up and it burned her hand, it made me think of Indiana Jones. Like, is she going to be able to do this and have the pattern?
Oh,
I mean, she's got a glove on, so
it's a device. It does things. Yeah. But that's a funny thought. Yeah.
That'd be hilarious if that was the case. Though.
I do have a suspicion of. Well, we'll wait till we get to this part later, but. I do have a suspicion that Anakin is going to be able to do this. But I don't know if it's going to be
So this is actually a pretty cool little thing. She's got little smoke poof disappear.
Yeah.
Shows up here.
And when she sees her, she thinks that means that Sabine is dead.
Yeah. She's like, oh, Sabine's dead. That sucks.
But you think she would feel...
Well, she's in the midst of fighting. She's probably
you can't do everything at once.
Yeah. But she does this in anger because she thinks she killed Sabine. I don't think she's even thinking about protect the map or anything. I think she like reached in anger and used it to throw her across.
Yep.
And he's not happy with that either. Look at that face.
Yeah, you can sense that they're both protective of their Padawan.
Yep. Master and apprentice.
This was
how she's using her force push to add to the strength of the...
He's so strong with that. She has to do... Yeah,
and you see even the detail on her hand. Like they made sure that you see the burn marks on her fingers.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, it actually looks like it's still kind of red from burns on the glove. But yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah, he always looks like he just knows how this is going to end, and it's sad that it is.
He's the architect from the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surprising. So there's another fallen Jedi.
Yeah, literally.
Fallen Jedi, yeah. So this is that moment, the like, and this is another fallen Jedi moment too, right? Because she's... Okay, first of all, she's shooting at him, and he's just doing the cool, quick little, as little movement as he possibly needs kind of thing. It was very cool.
This is why she's never gonna... I mean, I don't think it was a good idea to train her in ways of the Force.
I don't think that she has been trained in the ways of Force. I think she's been trained to do as much as she possibly can get out of it. And I think Ahsoka knows that. She's been told, and she knows that she's never...
But all the aspects of decision-making and discipline and all that stuff, that comes from a lifetime of being a Jedi, and she's just not the temperament for it.
No, but people still can benefit from those teachings at any age. Yeah. And I think she's...
Right, but if you half-ass it, you end up with stuff like this happening.
Yeah.
Well...
yeah.
But, I mean, the problem is not that... Well, a lot of people are being like, she shouldn't have ever been taught to be a Jedi. She's never been taught to be a Jedi. They even said the aim was...
Yeah, and that's why... That's another thing. It's like people think you can just learn the Force and not have to take on the Jedi's code and stuff, but there's a reason the Jedi have that code.
But she's not learning the Force, obviously. She's being told, like, yeah, if you had the Force, you could try it and stuff, but let's focus on your fighting skills and all that.
Yeah.
Ahsoka's just teaching her as much as she can to make her a better fighter, basically.
She's done a hell of a lot better than Finn with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Than who?
Finn.
Oh, well, Finn just picked it up, Like.
Right, but it goes to show you, like, you can't just pick up a lightsaber and do the thing. You do need some fight training, and she's got some fight training.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I think that the mental aspects of what is required to do Force fighting, I mean, the kind of training that Ahsoka's doing, is so diametrically opposed to the kind of stuff that Mandalorians do, that's a tall order to try to get those things to harmonize and mix.
Which is why they should work together.
So, holding the map hostage here, he knows, she's not going to do it. He's got a lot of knowledge. He knows about Ezra, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he makes sense. She knows that the only way to get to Ezra is to surrender.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and she's probably thinking, like, great, you'll take me there, and then I'll sabotage everything. We'll get Ezra and foil your plans kind of stuff.
And here comes an angry apprentice.
Yeah.
Starts
this was such a strong character moment for Baylan too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he said, I said that blah blah blah. I'm also wondering if he thinks he can take her on to be. He actually says your former master to her.
Yeah.
Now, could mean that I just killed your master, so she's your former master. But does it also mean like I'm your new master?
What about Kanan?
Kanan never was her master, was he?
He was training her with the Darksaber.
No. Yeah. And yeah. But I don't think he knows about that, or it referred to it at least. He was saying, you know, I'm not all about the death and destruction like your former master kind of thing, which is what he was saying to Ahsoka. So
I don't think Ahsoka's about death and destruction, though. I mean, I guess
no. Well, there's a little bit of death and I mean, she was raised as a Jedi during the Clone Wars, so she was raised as a battle Jedi, basically. You know, not the way most Jedi should be raised. So.
Peacekeeper, sure.
It'd be interesting to know what Baylan was doing during the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He would have been pretty young, but...
he wouldn't be... Yeah, he'd probably be 30, something like that. I imagine he's about 55, 60.
Maybe.
These are two new characters, right, developed for this series. They're not from anything else.
As far as we know, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what they've been doing. And I suspect they've been in very far-off places... learning about very unusual things and having strange experiences.
So the ghost calls Hu Yang here. I like that his little magnifying glass thing is down, and he like raises it up while he's working on these little wires. He has it down. Pretty cool. And the ghost comes in. This was a cool moment. It made me think like, oh, I don't think that map was ever in danger of that blaster. Here?
Yeah, it might have caused some damage to it that they could have repaired, and it would have slowed him down a day or something.
Maybe, but I wonder if he just thought, "Oh, here's a moment where I can convince her to join me." Basically, because if it took a while. He like shot the lightsaber, and it was like, so yeah, and then Sabine walks away all in handcuffs.
Yeah.
This was a cool shot.
Coming up from the clouds,
Very cool, yeah.
Didn't see any whales this episode.
Nope.
I like that Carson is lock S foils and attack positions. And the X-wings open up. That's really cool. And they approach. Now, this is obviously the only reason why they'd survive is there's a big hole in the middle of the ship.
Right.
Yeah, and I kind of thought because they were caught in the middle of the ring that they would be taken along with it.
I was wondering if that would happen, but yeah. I think for just a second they kind of were, which is what causes all this mess.
Yeah, it's probably like eddies, you know, or like when you're caught in the wavefront of a boat that passes, but with hyperspace.
That's a really good question, though. So if I want to go back and watch now. When the ring does go through, and they're all fumbling through space, are they still in this planet, or are they?
Yeah,
we're looking at them. We're looking at the destruction. Yeah, they didn't go into the thing, right? Okay,
right. No, they're still behind.
Yeah, you can see the planet in almost all these shots.
That's a cool story. Like if that had happened, and we're all focused on them crashing into each other and floating around, and we don't realize that the planet behind them is not the planet they were just at.
If they got pulled some ways, yeah. It was kind of neat. The thing's so big and so massive, you can kind of see it disappearing for a few seconds.
Yeah, that huge hyperspace disturbance or whatever it was.
Yeah, he's got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, they didn't do the about this, though. It's like the Obi-Wan series with the hello there. It's like, damn it.
Yeah. And then she starts waking up, and you're like, oh, good, she's in the water. But she's not in the water.
Yeah.
Massive question for the teacher. How? Like, I can't wait to find out how exactly this happens.
Yeah, we don't know.
No, because if she, like, there's already the thing where like Ezra pulled in and like saved her from Vader kind of thing. So she was already assumed dead at one point, and now like is the Force just resurrecting her because she's that important to what's happening?
I don't think she died. I think she was knocked unconscious
from that cliff fall. Though there's no portal, there's no opening, there's no doorway.
Who's to say she's actually there? This could be just in her head.
A mental thing. I think she's there, but maybe in her head.
I think she's talking to Anakin. I don't know if she's physically there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This might be
also,
in her head,
like other people might just see her body laying on the rocks right now.
Yeah.
But it's also possible she could be, because what if like after you've been there once, you have some kind of connection to it?
Well, that was the whole thing with Rebels and Ezra. Like Ezra was there multiple times throughout the series, but he wasn't ready to see it.
Did he always go through a portal?
When he goes to the temple and he sees Yoda, he's there, but he doesn't see it. He sees Yoda because he's not ready to take it in. So throughout Ezra's training, throughout Ezra's growth,
the designs kind of show it in the way, but it does,
And then when he's ready to see it, he sees it. So she's been there, so she knows it. And to Chris's point, maybe it's just that's where she went. I don't know.
It's also interesting. I don't see any gates in this. I had another shot of it too that I missed, but I didn't see any gates. Whereas in Ezra's, there were actual gates everywhere.
Yeah,
maybe they just didn't focusing on it or something. But
well, she didn't go through a gate, so maybe this is deeper in, and there's not, any gates around.
Yeah, I want to know how. I mean, obviously, right? But I want to know how she got there because that's weird.
Is this where the Force ghosts hang out when they're not appearing? You think?
I don't know, because he looks pretty solid here.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Maybe they just look solid here, and when they're appearing from here into the world,
well, remember when he sees Yoda in Rebels, he looks pretty solid, right? Yeah. So this temple has a way of showing these things. Who knows if Yoda was ever even there? Right. It might have just been the temple using his
both of their minds meeting in this zone.
Maybe.
So this might be something pretty much the same thing,
Yeah.
And when she says Anakin,
no, the moment before
when he says Snips,
when he says hello, Snips,
dude,
like breath in, no, like that. Hearing him say Snips again was like,
And that may be the first time we've ever heard Hayden Christensen say Snips.
That's true.
Yeah, unless it was in like some sort of background reel or something that it's possible it's been said, but hearing it clear,
it's
great.
And seeing
now I like to pretend. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, seeing him back as the Clone Wars 2 Anakin, and the Clone Wars Anakin style, everything, so good.
Also, he doesn't have a scar.
I was just noticing that too. Yeah.
That's true.
But why would he?
Yeah, it's never been explained, like who gave it to him, how he got it, what battle he was in when he got it. Like I don't know if it's in a book or a comic. I don't know what
it's in a book or comic. I remember someone mentioning it, but who knows if it's.
Well, it's the same reason he's not all burned up.
Sure.
He might be able to look that way if he wants.
Sure, I bet they could appear however they want.
Sure.
But whatever deficiencies there are in the de-aging thing, almost helps this look more ethereal or something in this zone here. Yeah. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of oh no, but it works. It still works.
What else are you going to do, though?
Yeah,
I was fine with it.
Sure. Just like Luke and Mandalorian. Like
maybe they'll come back and replace the de-aging thing with a deep fake.
Sure. Well, they have that guy now. So.
Yeah, they do.
But that was a pretty epic episode.
What I was thinking is now that they've created this young Indiana Jones head, they could use that as a Han Solo head.
I guess so. Yeah.
This was of the four. This was definitely the best. It had the more epic of the moments, but minor gripes, and that hello Snips was just
yeah. I loved it.
You watch Rebels and you hear that, like if you haven't watched any of that stuff and you hear this throwaway line behind her that's just hello Snips, and you're like, I have no idea what that means, but knowing why he was calling her that, and like that whole series, like I know you can watch this episode or watch this series and not have the prior knowledge and still be fine. It's still paying off, still a great story, cool character arc. But if you can watch the other stuff, it's paying off dividends at this point.
Yeah.
With all the things that are going on, even with the new characters that you're like, you've never experienced, no one's experienced them. So even them old, with all the other stuff they're putting into it, it's going so well.
I wonder if though it could function like a prequel for some people if they saw it out of order. If it'd be like, oh, this is the moment where Ahsoka meets Sabine, and and kind of have its own cool experience in a way, just like we did with going back, like the prequels did.
Yeah, exactly. Like the first, one of the highlights of Solo for me is like knowing that Chewbacca and Solo had this friendship for like the better part of a century, and seeing them meet for the first time, right? Like watching that in order, you don't get that payoff if you just all of a sudden you meet this Wookiee and you know Han Solo, and all of a sudden they develop the friendship.
Right.
Just like watching 4, 5, and 6, then going back and watching 1, 2, 3, like going back and seeing the first time Ahsoka is introduced and they meet, Phantom, and it's really cool. Or not Phantom, Spectres. Just cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a great episode. I loved every bit of it. I hope that we'll actually. So a lot of series do this thing, right, where it's like, oh, this person doesn't know the secret, and you go seasons and seasons, and they don't know, and then finally they discover the secret, and they confront each other, and then they cut commercial, and then they come back to commercial, and it was like the next day, and they're like, yeah, well, we haven't talked about it. Like the scene of them talking, that's what I want. So they better give me the conversation between her and Anakin right after this moment. Don't cut it to where...
Yeah, I bet it's going to come back and it's going to show her waking up on the rocks. And
oh, no.
Later you'll find out what they talked about.
No. Well, even if they come back, and even if I find out later what they talked about, like later they cut to the scene again and they have the conversation, that's fine. But don't skip the conversation. This is what I've been wanting from this entire series. This is what I've wanted forever. Do not skip out on that conversation. I'll be so mad.
And you don't watch trailers.
Yeah, I don't.
Speaking of, and I posted in the Discord, and I don't know if you guys have it near you. I don't have it near me. Tuesday's episode is being put on the big screen in movie theaters.
Really?
So I put a link in the spoilers channel of the Discord, and you can type in your zip code and see if there's a theater near you. But they're projecting episode 5 on theaters across the country, on screens across the country.
Why episode?
But they're having 3 more after that, right?
It's the mid-season episode, so I guess it's. 1, they probably know they can make money. 2, it's probably going to be epic.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess so.
September 12th.
All right. Now my hopes are really up for the next episode.
I don't know where, if it's near you or not. I put in my zip. It's not. I don't know if it's like only major metros like New York City or LA or something, but maybe you got one near you that you can.
That does remind me, in our descriptions, we have a Discord channel you could go to and talk about Ahsoka. Everybody knows it's spoilers in there, so it's protected. Don't go there until you've seen stuff. So,
yeah, I'd probably prefer to see it at home anyway. But just the fact of knowing that they're doing that makes me really think, "Whoa, this must be a really cool episode."
What's happening then? Yeah,
yeah.
I would have loved to see this episode with those fight scenes. Like it was very Obi Maul-esque, right? With her and Merrick, like that whole thing was very like it's got the darkness right in the desert. I saw somebody post it was a meme or a GIF or something that Darth Maul's body, assuming Obi buried him and didn't burn him, Darth Maul's rotting corpse is like walking distance from the Skywalker Ranch. Like just buried in the desert right near the Skywalker home.
Weird.
Yeah.
Could be. Probably not that far, but yeah.
Luke's got a skull on his desk in his room that with little horns on it.
Jawa probably stole it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what was that?
I said check that out. See if you can get the episode on the I would go see it. I would probably not see it Tuesday. If they're only doing a Tuesday, that's going to suck. I'd probably want to watch it home and then go watch it in the big screen. Like that would be, because I wouldn't want anything like the people that are going to hear and clap and do all the things. Like I just want to watch it.
Yeah, I want to see it on a big screen, but I don't want to see it with other people on a big screen. So I'll just watch it at home with my big screen. All right, well, we'll wrap it up here and hope that next episode has everything we want it to have. So whether you see it in theaters or at home, afterwards, come and find our episode and check it out.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks.